I thought moving into my new apartment would be one of the best days of my life. The place was perfect. 12th floor, one-bedroom balcony overlooking the park, right in the heart of downtown. I had worked 4 years for this moment, saving every dollar I could. When my brother Dylan called saying he wanted to come 3 days early to help me move, I felt grateful. We had not been close lately, and this felt like a chance to reconnect. But then he started asking questions about the lease. Detailed questions. Who was on it? Whether I could add someone. Whether subletting was allowed. I told myself I was being paranoid. I was wrong. Before we get into what happened next, let me know where you are watching from. Hit that like button and subscribe if you have not already. Trust me, you will want to stick around for this one, because what my brother did next, I never saw it coming. Let me back up and give you the full picture. My name is Elias, and I am 28 years old. For the past 4 years, I had been living in a studio apartment that was barely big enough to fit a bed and a desk. It was all I could afford when I first started working at a small marketing firm after college. The pay was decent, but living in the city meant every dollar went toward rent, food, and bills. There was not much left over for anything else. But I worked hard. I took on extra projects, stayed late, proved myself valuable. Slowly, my income grew. By the end of year 3, I had enough saved to start looking for something better. That is when I found the apartment. 1-bedroom separate living area, a kitchen with actual counter space, and that balcony. The rent was $1,300 a month, which was reasonable for the location. I signed the lease 2 months before the move-in date, and I counted down the days like a kid waiting for Christmas. My family situation made this moment even more significant. My parents died 5 years ago in a car accident. It happened on a Tuesday evening. They were driving home from dinner when a drunk driver ran a red light. I got the call at 11:30 at night. My whole world collapsed in that instant. Dylan and I only had each other after that. He was older by 3 years, 31 now, and he had always been the responsible one. He worked as a real estate agent, which meant his income fluctuated, but when he was doing well, he was doing really well. After Mom and Dad died, Dylan was there for me in ways I cannot fully describe. He helped me deal with the funeral arrangements, the estate, all the paperwork that comes with sudden loss. He checked on me every week, made sure I was eating, made sure I was not falling apart. For about 3 years, we were as close as 2 brothers could be. We had Sunday dinners together. We watched football. We talked about everything. But then something shifted. About 2 years ago, Dylan started becoming distant. He would cancel plans at the last minute. He would not return my calls for days. When we did talk, he seemed distracted, always looking at his phone, always rushing off to the next thing. I figured he was just busy with work. Real estate can be demanding, especially in a competitive market. I did not push it. I gave him space. But I missed him. I missed my brother. So when he called me that Thursday afternoon and said he wanted to come help me move, I felt this surge of hope. Maybe this was it. Maybe we were going to get back to how things used to be. Dylan showed up on Friday evening 3 days before my official move-in date on Monday. I was still at my studio boxing up the last of my things when he knocked on the door. He was carrying 3 large cardboard boxes stacked on top of each other, struggling to see over them. "Hey man, need a hand," I said, rushing to grab the top box. "Thanks, these are heavier than they look," he said, setting them down in the corner. "What is all this?" "Just some of my stuff. I am getting work done on my place, so I need somewhere to store these for a bit. Hope that is okay." "Yeah, of course, no problem." It struck me as slightly odd that he did not mention this on the phone, but I did not think much of it. We were brothers. Brothers help each other out. We ordered pizza and sat on the floor of my nearly empty studio, eating and catching up. Dylan asked about my job, about my friends, about whether I was seeing anyone. Normal brother stuff. But then the conversation kept drifting back to the apartment. So this new place. You said it is downtown, right? What is the exact address? I told him. Nice area. How long is the lease? 1 year. And it is just your name on it? Yeah, just me. What about subletting? Can you sublet if you need to? I mean, technically no. Not unless the landlord approves it. Why? Just curious. You know I work in real estate. I like to know the details. He smiled when he said it, but something about the smile did not reach his eyes. I felt this tiny knot form in my stomach, this whisper of unease that I immediately tried to ignore. This was Dylan, my brother, the person who had been there for me when our parents died. I was being ridiculous. That is great, man. You really scored with this place, he said, taking another bite of pizza. Thanks. I am pretty excited. But that knot did not go away. The next morning, Saturday, Dylan woke me up at 7:30. Come on, let us go check out the apartment again. I want to take some measurements, figure out the best way to arrange your furniture. I was groggy, but I appreciated the enthusiasm. We drove over to the new place, and Dylan brought a tape measure and his phone. For the next hour, he measured every wall, every corner, every closet. He took photos from multiple angles. He asked me where I planned to put the couch, the bed, the desk. It felt thorough. Maybe a little too thorough. But again, I told myself he was just being helpful. He worked in real estate. This was what he did. Then my landlord showed up. Mrs. Patterson was a woman in her early 50s, polite and professional. She had come by to drop off an extra set of keys and go over a few final details. Dylan immediately started talking to her. Mrs. Patterson, quick question. What is your policy on adding someone to the lease? She looked surprised. Well, it depends. Are you planning to have a roommate, Elias? No, I said quickly. I am not. I am just asking hypothetically. Dylan said, flashing that real estate agent charm. What if circumstances changed? What is the process? We would need to run a credit check and background check on the additional tenant. There is also a $50 administrative fee, but it is definitely possible if everyone is in agreement. And what about early termination? If someone needed to break the lease, what is the penalty? Mrs. Patterson explained the terms. 2 months' rent as a penalty, plus forfeiting the security deposit. Dylan nodded along, absorbing every word like he was taking notes for a test. I pulled him aside after Mrs. Patterson left. Why are you asking all this? Just being thorough. You know I work in real estate. Want to make sure you got a good deal. I already signed the lease, Dylan. The deal is done. I know. I am just looking out for you. The knot in my stomach pulled tighter. That afternoon, Dylan suggested we stay at the new apartment instead of going back to my studio. It is closer to the furniture store. We can get an early start tomorrow. I did not have a bed yet, just a sleeping bag, but I agreed. That night, I could not sleep. The apartment was empty, and every sound echoed. Around 1 in the morning, I got up to get some water from the kitchen. That is when I saw the light. A faint glow coming from the living room where I had stacked my boxes. I walked quietly to the doorway and saw Dylan crouched on the floor, going through one of my boxes with a flashlight. Papers were scattered around him. Dylan, what are you doing? He jumped, nearly dropping the flashlight. I was looking for tape. Thought you had some in here. I looked down and saw my lease agreement lying on the floor next to him. The pages were unfolded, clearly read. Were you looking at my lease? No, it just fell out. Sorry, man, I will grab tape from the store tomorrow. He stood up quickly, stuffing the papers back into the box. But I had seen enough. He had been reading my lease, studying it. My mind raced with questions, but I did not know how to ask them without sounding accusatory. This was my brother. There had to be a reasonable explanation. I went back to my sleeping bag, but I did not sleep. I stared at the ceiling, replaying every conversation from the past 2 days. The questions about the lease, the measurements, the interest in subletting and early termination. It all started to form a picture I did not want to see. Sunday morning, Dylan suggested we go furniture shopping. We drove to a big box store, and I started looking at bed frames and dressers. Every time I picked something decent, Dylan steered me toward the cheaper options. You do not need anything fancy yet. Just get something to hold you over. I want furniture that will last, Dylan. I am planning to be here a while. Trust me, you might want to keep your options open. I stopped walking and turned to face him. What do you mean by that? Nothing. Just saying. No, you were saying something. What options? Forget it. Let us just get what you want. But the damage was done. Throughout the rest of the shopping trip, Dylan was on his phone constantly. He kept stepping away to take calls, walking out to the parking lot or around the corner where I could not hear. When I asked who he was talking to, he said work. But his voice had this edge to it, this tension that made me suspicious. That evening we were back at the apartment, and Dylan went out onto the balcony to take yet another call. I stood just inside the door, and the window was cracked open. I could hear fragments of his conversation. Yeah, the lease is for 1 year. I think I can make it work. He does not suspect anything. I just need him to agree. My blood went cold. I pushed the door open. Who are you talking to? Dylan turned, his face flushed. Just a client. Work stuff. That did not sound like work. It is complicated. I will explain later. Explain now. Elias, drop it, please. But I could not drop it. Not anymore. Monday morning arrived. The moving company was scheduled to show up at 8. I barely slept again, my mind spinning with worst-case scenarios. At 7:45, the movers pulled up in their truck. Dylan met them at the door. Actually, there has been a change. We need to hold off on moving everything in. I felt like I had been punched in the chest. What are you talking about? We need to talk. Sit down. The movers are here, Dylan. What is going on? He turned to the movers. Can you give us 10 minutes? They nodded and stepped outside. Dylan closed the door and faced me. The apartment was empty, except for the two of us and the echo of our voices. I need to tell you something. Clearly. He took a breath. I am in trouble. Financial trouble. Big trouble. What kind of trouble? I owe $8,000 on my credit cards. My landlord kicked me out 2 weeks ago because I had not paid rent in 3 months. I have been staying in my car, Elias. I am broke. The words hit me like stones. My brother, the successful real estate agent, was homeless. Why did you not tell me? Because I was ashamed. Because I did not want you to see me like this. But then I saw your post about this apartment on social media, and I thought, maybe this could work. Work how? I need you to transfer the lease to me. I stared at him, unable to process what he was saying. You want me to give you my apartment? Not give. Transfer. I will pay the rent every month. You can stay here with me if you want, or you can find another place. I just need this. I need a roof over my head, and I cannot get approved for anything with my credit the way it is. So your plan was to come here, pretend to help me, and then ask me to hand over the apartment I worked 4 years to get. It is not like that. Then what is it like, Dylan? Because from where I am standing, it looks like you lied to me. You used me. I am your brother. We are supposed to help each other. Help is not the same as manipulation. You came here 3 days early. You asked Mrs. Patterson about adding people to the lease. You went through my paperwork in the middle of the night. You planned this whole thing. He did not deny it. His silence was the confession. Okay, yes. I saw your post, and I thought maybe this was the answer. I thought if I came early, I could talk to you, explain the situation, and you would understand. Understand what? That you wanted to take the one thing I have been working toward. You can find another place, Elias. You are young, you are flexible, you have options. I do not have anything. That is not my fault. I am not saying it is. I am asking for help. By taking my apartment, by sharing it, by letting me get back on my feet. I felt this surge of anger and sadness all mixed together. This was my brother, the person who held me together when our parents died. And now he was asking me to give up the life I had built. I cannot do this, Dylan. You mean you will not? Fine, I will not. This is my apartment. I signed the lease. I am moving in today. His face changed. The pleading expression hardened into something else, something desperate. If you will not help me, then I will tell Mrs. Patterson that you are subletting to me. I already talked to her about adding a tenant. She knows my face. She will believe me. You would not. I have nothing left to lose, Elias. Do not make me do this. That was the moment I realized how far he had fallen, and how far he was willing to go. I pulled out my phone and called Mrs. Patterson. She answered on the second ring. Mrs. Patterson, this is Elias. I need to clarify something. My brother Dylan is not going to be living here. He was just visiting to help me move. But there has been a misunderstanding. I need you to know that he has no claim to this apartment. There was a pause. Okay, Elias. I appreciate you letting me know. Is everything all right? It will be. Can you come by today? I want to make sure we have everything documented correctly. I can be there in an hour. I hung up. Dylan was staring at me, his face pale. You are kicking me out. Your own brother. You tried to steal my apartment. What did you expect? I was not stealing. I was asking. You were threatening. There is a difference. I called my two closest friends, Marcus and Jake. I explained the situation in short, clipped sentences. They said they would be there in 20 minutes. When they arrived, Dylan was sitting on the floor, his head in his hands. Marcus and Jake did not say anything. They just picked up Dylan's 3 boxes and carried them down to his car. Dylan stood up slowly. I'm sorry. I did not know what else to do. You could have been honest. From the beginning. You could have asked me for help without trying to manipulate me. Would you have said yes? I do not know. But at least I would have had the choice. He walked to the door, then turned back. I hope you are happy here. It did not sound like a genuine wish. It sounded bitter, sad, defeated. I hope you figure things out, Dylan. I really do. But not like this. He left. The movers came back in. Mrs. Patterson arrived, changed the locks, and made sure only I had keys. By the end of the day, my furniture was in place, my boxes were unpacked, and I was standing alone in my new apartment. It should have felt like a victory. Instead, it just felt hollow. The first 2 weeks in the apartment were strange. I loved the space. I loved the view. I loved having a separate bedroom and a real kitchen. But every time I walked in the door, I thought about Dylan. About the look on his face when he left. About the fact that my only remaining family member had tried to take everything from me. I sent him a text message 3 days after the move. If you need help, I'm here to talk. But not like this. Not with lies. He did not respond. Marcus and Jake came over a lot during those first weeks. We would order food, watch movies, just hang out. They did not push me to talk about Dylan, but they made sure I was not alone. That mattered more than I can say. You did the right thing, Marcus said one night. Family does not get a free pass to treat you badly. It does not feel right, I admitted. That is because you are a good person, Jake said. But being good does not mean being a doormat. 2 weeks turned into a month. I started settling into a routine. Work, home, gym, repeat. I joined a hiking group that met on Saturday mornings. It was something I had always wanted to do, but never had time for in my old studio. The people in the group were friendly, and I started looking forward to those mornings. Fresh air, physical challenge, no drama. Then 6 weeks after the move, I got a text from Dylan. "I'm sorry, I messed up. I was desperate, and I made a terrible decision. I do not expect you to forgive me, but I want you to know I am sorry." I stared at the message for a long time before responding. "I appreciate the apology. What are you doing now?" "I found a room to rent. It is not much, but it is a roof. I am working on my debts. Got a side job doing home inspections. It is going to take a while, but I'm trying. I am glad you are figuring things out. But I need time. I understand." That was the end of the conversation. I did not block him. I did not cut him off completely. But I also did not invite him back into my life. Not yet. Over the next few months, I thought a lot about boundaries, about what it means to love someone and still protect yourself. I realized that saying no to Dylan was not selfish. It was necessary. He had been drowning, and instead of asking for a life preserver, he tried to pull me under with him. That is not love. That is desperation. And I could not save him by sacrificing myself. I also thought about trust. About how it is built slowly over time through consistent actions, and about how it can be destroyed in an instant. Dylan and I had years of history, good years, but that history did not erase what he had done. Trust is not a birthright. It is earned, and if it is broken, it has to be rebuilt piece by piece. I learned to love my own company during those months. I would sit on the balcony in the evenings with a cup of coffee watching the sun set over the park. I would read books I had been meaning to read for years. I would cook meals for myself, trying new recipes, not worrying about anyone else's preferences. It was peaceful. It was mine. 6 months after the move, Dylan called me. Not a text. An actual phone call. I almost did not answer, but something made me pick up. Hey. I just wanted to check in, see how you were doing." "I am good. Really good, actually." "That is great. I am happy for you." There was a pause. It was not uncomfortable, just quiet. "I got a steady job," he said. "Working for a property management company. It is not glamorous, but it is stable. I have been paying down my debts. Slowly." "That is really good, Dylan. I am proud of you." "Thanks. And I want you to know I am still sorry. For everything." "I know. Do you think we will ever be okay again? Like we were before?" I thought about that question, about whether we could ever go back to Sunday dinners and football games and easy laughter. The truth was, I did not know. Maybe we could, maybe we could not. But I knew one thing for certain. "I think we can be something," I said. "Maybe not what we were, but something new. If we are both honest. If we both respect boundaries." "I would like that." "Me too." We talked for a few more minutes, then said goodbye. It was not a grand reconciliation. There were no tears or dramatic apologies. It was just two brothers starting over from scratch. And that felt right. As I stood on my balcony that night looking out at the city lights, I thought about how far I had come. Not just in terms of the apartment, but in terms of understanding myself. I had learned that protecting what you build is not selfish. That saying no to someone you love is sometimes the most loving thing you can do. That boundaries are not walls. They are guidelines. They are ways of saying, "This is who I am. This is what I need. And I will not compromise that for anyone." Dylan had tested those boundaries harder than anyone in my life, and I had held firm. Not out of anger or resentment, but out of self-respect. And in doing so, I had given both of us a chance to grow. Sometimes the people closest to us test our boundaries the hardest, and sometimes holding firm is the kindest thing we can do for everyone involved, including ourselves. I do not know what the future holds for Dylan and me. Maybe we will rebuild our relationship. Maybe we will not. But I know that I made the right choice. I protected my peace. I honored my needs. And I learned that family is important, but so is self-preservation. The apartment is still everything I hoped it would be. Every morning, I wake up in my own bedroom, make coffee in my real kitchen, and step out onto the balcony to watch the city wake up. It is mine. I earned it. And no one can take that away from me. Have you ever had to set boundaries with someone you love? Have you ever had to choose between helping family and protecting yourself? Drop a comment below and let me know your story. If this resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life stories about navigating complicated relationships. Share this with someone who might need to hear it today. Thank you for listening to my story, and I hope it reminds you that standing up for yourself is never wrong. Take care of yourself out there, and remember that your peace matters.